King BARIUS is once again trying to take over the world. Ray and 3 other adventurers set off on a journey to put a stop to his plans for conquest once and for all. We travel back to the land of Rolan for another epic hack-and-slash adventure. If you remember one of the earliest RPGs on the system, from 1990, what we have here is pretty similar, even down to the story. Movement is still restricted to the 4 cardinal directions. You have your main weapon assigned to A, and each character has a sub-weapon assigned to B that is powered by the MP bar. That's right, I said characters. There are a total of 8 playable characters to journey as now, 7 of whom you'll meet as you make certain towns. Wander around the overworld and you'll soon see that the area frame layout made popular with the original Legend of Zelda is still utilised. There's something like 20 different enemy types mulling about in their various patterns. Killing them can sometimes drop small potions, which increase your HP back up a small amount, or grant you things that look like apples that increase your MP back to its maximum. Accessing the start menu allows you to view a rudimentary map, which is incredibly helpful for navigation, as sometimes the direction you're meant to be heading is not exactly instinctive. Contrary to how it seems, enemies don't automatically respawn. The developers tried to cut down on lag by only having a certain number of sprites on screen at any one time, so what's happening is some enemies will not spawn in until the other ones have been killed and their projectiles have vanished. While a reasonable idea, there's no telegraph where the new mobs will appear, causing them to drop directly on top of you, so you need to be alert. Thankfully, they won't immediately damage you. There is a grace period of a couple of seconds where they'll be flashing and don't interact with your character's hitbox, giving you time to get away. The enemy spawning rotation is not unlimited either, meaning you can clear screens, but if you leave a screen and return, they will come back, allowing you to grind reasonably effectively. However, grinding for potions isn't necessarily the most efficient, or even necessary way of regaining HP, as each town has a place called a House of Healing, which essentially replenishes all of your HP and MP free of charge. If you're caught out in the wilderness, then grinding is a solution, as long as you're careful not to move too quickly before you know an enemy's movement pattern. So, like I say, grinding isn't really needed. You don't gain experience points as such. Typically, leveling up is done by finding items in chests, which will then increase your HP and MP. A slightly unorthodox design choice perhaps, but one that lets you make satisfyingly quick progress through the game. One of the problems of the previous game, not that there were many, is that you can't attack in a direction that you're not facing without first moving in that direction, which makes it tricky to hit something that's not directly in front of you without getting damaged. Unfortunately, this wasn't remedied here. Perhaps the devs didn't see it as a problem. It's just a nitpicky thing on my behalf, really. The physics would have benefited from a single frame of character rotation before the character moves, so that you don't immediately put yourself in harm. There are ways around it though. You simply have to be more conservative with your inputs, and don't be afraid to turn around and maneuver in a more indirect way. Having said that though, don't feel you need to be overly cautious with your gameplay because you have infinite lives. If you die on the battlefield, you'll simply respawn at the last House of Healing that you used. At first, Ray's gonna have to go it alone, but get to the second town and you'll meet an elf called Pit who will join you, if you can help him clear the forest of all the monsters. Pit throws daggers as his primary attack. They are weaker than Ray's sword, but have a greater range, and can place a bomb somewhere on the landscape as his sub-weapon. There are 7 people to find, they're pretty much always in towns, as you progress further into the game, all of whom have their own useful skills, strengths and weaknesses. This part of the game was very well thought out, and the characters enhance the narrative. Once you have more than one party member, you can switch between them. Depending on who and where they are, they will interact with NPCs and the environment differently. For instance, the original character is treated like a visitor in the second town, but Pit will be treated like a local. You can learn different things about the storyline based on who you have at the front of your party, which is quite an interesting mechanic. However, bear in mind that this is an action RPG rather than a turn-based affair, so you only have access to the skills of one of the characters at any one time. Learn the character's skill sets and where they'll come in useful. The music is very upbeat with a suitably folky composition and is well executed, and the small selection of sound effects, while standard, are appropriate and certainly don't grate on you. Is this game a graphical improvement over the previous game? If so, it's not by much. I will say that the screen is used very economically, with the health and MP bars taking up only a small portion of the lower part of the screen, leaving most of your view reserved for the actual in-game action. The tile-based graphics themselves are reminiscent of the Final Fantasy Legend games, if maybe not quite as polished as some of those, but the animations are charming. I would definitely recommend adding Rolan's Curse 2 to your collection, were it not for one thing. Unfortunately, it's right up there on the higher end of the price scale. At time of writing, a loose cartridge is priced at more than £200, which is outrageous, let's be honest. It's one of those games that is astronomically more expensive now than it was when it came out. Usually when this happens, the cause is a balance between game quality and rarity. Rarity is one of those strange intangibles in any kind of collecting. Perhaps a better word in this case would be scarcity. Really good games might not be rare in the sense that there are lots of copies in existence, but they are scarce because they don't come up for sale very often. People hold on to them, and the more hyped something gets, the less likely collectors are to let them go. A good example is Castlevania 3 on the NES. This is certainly not a rare game, it sold really well, however, because of the game quality, people are loath to get rid of it. And when they do, they know they can charge more because people will pay it. Sometimes a game will be scarce because it barely sold any copies when it was out originally, whether because of marketing or because the game was terrible. I'm not sure what the case is with Rolan's Curse 2. The game certainly isn't terrible, on the contrary, it's actually very good. Although in Game Boy collecting circles, it's still not a title that is talked about all that much. So whether the price point is a supply and demand issue or that it's more artificially inflated is certainly a question worth looking into. One for the emulator, I'm afraid.